3 OnlyFans creators committed suicide between 2024 and 2025. A 4th collapsed on camera after having relations with 101 men in 24 hours. She couldn't remember their faces. Days later, she announced she would do it with 1,000. While the platform's owner pockets $472 million, 90% of creators earn less than $180 per month. And these women's mental health is collapsing. This is what OnlyFans doesn't want you to know. In December 2024, Lily Phillips collapsed in tears in front of a camera. She had just had relations with 101 men in 24 hours. She couldn't remember their faces. She felt robotized. Days later, she announced she would do it with 1,000 men. This is just one creator. There are 3 million more on OnlyFans, and the real numbers reveal something devastating. While the platform generates $472 million in dividends for its owner, 90% of creators earn less than $180 per month. But the money isn't the worst part. Between 2022 and 2023, 3 creators committed suicide. Lily is 23 years old. Documentary filmmaker Josh Peters captured what no one expected to see. "It's not for weak girls," she says with a broken voice. "It was hard. I felt so robotic." She has this routine of how to do things, and at some point, you just dissociate. She only remembers 5, maybe 6 guys, out of 101 men. "If I didn't have the videos, I wouldn't know I did 100, she confesses. And then she collapses, tears. She has to step away from the camera. Peters himself didn't expect it. "I thought maybe years later she would reflect, but seeing her collapse instantly was unexpected." Days after that collapse, Phillips announces her next event: 1,000 men in 24 hours. Then she attempts to break anal encounter records, trauma followed by escalation. And it's not an isolated case. Angela White, known as Black China, earned $240 million on the platform. In the 2025 TMZ documentary, she describes psychological addiction. Greed hits fast, the work fucks with your head, and you take off more and more clothes. Despite the millions, she felt she was exploiting herself. Madeline Kopp sums it up differently. "I felt like I sold my soul. I collapsed with my younger brother telling him this." If earning millions doesn't protect your mental health, what happens to the 90% earning $180 monthly? But before revealing those numbers, you need to know the stories of those who are no longer here to tell them. Diana Deets, 24 years old, known as Coconut Kitty. She had 5.4 million followers on OnlyFans. But Diana had been dragging depression since childhood. Accusations of pedo-baiting began due to the infantilized aesthetic of her photos. Rolling Stone published an investigation about how she extremely manipulated her images. The harassment on social media was massive. On February 12, 2023, Diana took her own life. Her sister. The fight became too big. Her family spoke of a darkness that weighed on her heart. Niece Waidhofer, 31 years old. Her OnlyFans content was massively stolen. Explicit material leaked and distributed without her consent. In 2020, she sued the Thought Hub site for monetary and reputational damage. Her policy was no nudes, but that didn't matter. The trauma of seeing your intimate material circulating out of control is continuous. It doesn't end with the initial theft. Every time it's redistributed, the damage repeats. 2 years after the lawsuit, in June 2022, niece committed suicide. Koby Falks, 39 years old, Australia. In May 2024, days before her death, she posted, "No more masks, no more performance, just me as I am, raw, real, free." Days later, Koby died, but there are more cases. Julie Luxey, 21 years old, found dead in Paris in March 2025. The scene had blood and nitrous oxide. Kylie Page, 28 years old, died of accidental overdose in June 2024. Cocaine mixed with fentanyl. Streamer Sketch, when his OnlyFans passed, was exposed in July 2024, confirmed suicidal thoughts. "If it weren't for people like them, I probably wouldn't be here today." Christina Ashton Gorkani died after cosmetic surgeries, motivated by maintaining her OnlyFans image. 3 confirmed suicides, multiple deaths under investigation. This is the cost no one counts when they talk about OnlyFans empowerment. OnlyFans sells you a story. The real numbers are brutal. The average earnings of a creator is $150 to $180 monthly, approximately $2,000 per year. The average salary in the United States is $59,428 annually. The median income is $50 monthly. Half of all creators earn less than that. The median account has only 21 subscribers. The top 1% captures 33% of all income. The top 10% takes 73%. The remaining 90% earns less than $180 per month. And meanwhile, OnlyFans takes 20% of every earning. In 2023, the owner received $472 million in dividends with only 42 employees. That's $31 million per employee. One creator on Reddit, "I post content almost daily. I'm sitting at $8 in my account." Another who earned $189,000 in 2021 lost her pharmaceutical job. She wasn't earning enough to support her family. She had to get another job. Now, the mental health numbers. The Avery Center in 2021, 34% reported negative physical or mental health consequences. 30% identified the constant demand for content as the primary cause of anxiety and depression. A 2023 meta-analysis with 19,507 participants. Depression has a prevalence of 50% to 88%. 30% reported moderate to severe depressive symptoms. Major depressive disorder in 24% to 61.5%. Anxiety from 13.6% to 51%. Bipolar disorder 46.9%. Problematic alcohol use 36.7% to 45.4%. Another study with 18,524 sex workers, depression 41.8%, anxiety 21%, PTSD 19.7%. Here comes the serious part. Recent suicidal ideation 22%, recent suicide attempts 6.3%. A Vibely report, 90% of creators have experienced burnout. 71% have considered leaving social media completely. 79% will work intensely to meet deadlines even with mental health problems. The system extracts until collapse. The platform has specific tactics. 30% of creators receive threatening emails from OnlyFans. If you don't post, they'll delete your account. This threat generates panic. You lose all your subscribers, all your income. Creators create increasingly explicit content against their wishes. The BBC investigated in 2021 how moderation works. Treatment depends on how much money you generate. Low accounts, immediate restriction. Medium accounts, 3 warnings. High earning accounts, greater indulgence, different team. 1 moderator. OnlyFans puts earnings over ethics. Now, the really dark part. 6% of surveyed creators revealed having traffickers managing their accounts. They had very little control over what they created. An additional 30% received messages from suspected traffickers offering to manage accounts. 11% were aware of minors with OnlyFans accounts, approximately 35 known minors. More than 50% felt OnlyFans doesn't do enough screening. The BBC documentary Nudes for Sale in 2020. A third of Twitter profiles, nudes for sale, appeared to be minors. The case of Hannah, 17 years old in Scotland, selling content since age 16 with fake ID. Reuters investigated in 2024 and found hundreds of explicit videos and images of minors. More than half of 30 cases resulted in arrests, at least 3 criminal convictions. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Cases linked to OnlyFans nearly tripled from 2019 to 2020. The Anti-Human Trafficking Intelligence Initiative in 2022 spent several $1,000s in 2 hours accessing content behind paywalls. They found child sexual abuse material, sex trafficking, violent acts. Images that at minimum may represent forced rape and criminal assault. Homeland Security reviewed the report and confirmed its validity. The system allows this while generating millions for its owner. February 2024, New Hampshire, 3 a.m. A creator sleeps next to her 3-year-old son. Mauricio Damian Guerrero, 20 years old, has just broken in. He traveled 350 miles. He films her while she sleeps partially naked. He steals her keys, underwear, personal photos. He buys a Bluetooth tracking device for her car. When arrested, he claims she wanted a man to be obsessed with her and stalk her. The apparent digital intimacy leads to losing the notion of boundaries. Becky, 21 years old. A subscriber contacted her. She rejected him. He published all her explicit videos on Twitter. Death threats. Consequence, her family repudiated her. Her father called her disgusting. In the United Kingdom, Abigail was stalked by Steven Spears on 3 occasions. He was jailed for 8 months. 5 months after being released, he stalked her again. 14 additional months in prison. A creator who earned $20,000 monthly, subscribers constantly pressured for more explicit content. It didn't matter what she posted. They always wanted more. She ended up sending photos she didn't want because they pressured her with high payments. I received terribly degrading messages. They saw me as an object, not as a person. It was devastating daily. Massive content theft is systematic. Entire subreddits dedicated to this. r/megaphiles for free has more than 100,000 subscribers. r/OnlyFans leaks daily. Stolen material, distributed without consent, circulating forever. One creator. I had a cousin leak my content to my family. The trauma isn't just the initial theft. It's knowing that your intimate content is on the internet, accessible, being shared, unable to stop it. Material ends up on Telegram. Continuous public exposure. Many guys I dated felt they deserved to see my content. The expectation that by doing this work, you lost the right to privacy, to say no, to control your own image. Madeline Kopp started on OnlyFans in fall 2021. In 2024, she wrote an academic paper. Embarking on online sex work came at a detrimental cost to my mental health that would take several years to stabilize. She had pre-existing anxiety, depression, PTSD. The work magnified them 1,000,000 times. I crashed straight into a mental breakdown that I will always describe as my lowest point. Family rejection amplified everything. My parents and my brother's reactions were the complete opposite of her friend's support. She's still repairing her relationship with her brother. She no longer speaks to her mother because of her visceral reaction filled with hatred. This led her to high-risk self-destructive behaviors. She required a year of intensive therapy to recover. Another creator started at 18 years old, 3 years on the platform. I thought it would be liberating, but they were the most miserable years of my life. She earned up to $20,000 monthly. I was more depressed and anxious than ever. She spent on travel and luxuries trying to buy happiness. It didn't work. Her life revolved completely around OnlyFans. She isolated herself from family and friends. I was close to ending it all. I couldn't live with myself and felt I was on the edge of a mental breakdown. Money didn't compensate for the damage. They made me feel like an object, not a person. Victoria Nguyen, former creator with art training, thought her training prepared her. She was wrong. Mentally, I could no longer distinguish the difference between myself and my online persona, Christina. Fans saw her as an idealized object of desire. She had to attend to fans emotionally, even when I didn't feel like it. Creating space for them to express deep, often disturbing desires did a lot of damage to my psyche. I wasn't ready to assume that responsibility. She now works as an OnlyFans manager and warns, "This work is hard. It will push you physically and emotionally." Psychologist Valeria Sabater. Many girls internalize the stigma associated with sex work. It gradually undermines their self-esteem and self-concept. A 2022 study showed that sex workers feel lonelier as a result. Madeline Kopp feared her work would cause an unexplainable gap in her resume. Another worker. "We hate sex workers in this country. They could fire me because that's not a protected thing." Angela White earned $240 million. Still, she felt she was exploiting herself. Brianna Coppage, teacher in Missouri, earned almost $1 million, top 0.1%. When administrators discovered her account, they put her on leave. Success doesn't protect from social consequences. A 2021 study found that women on OnlyFans suffer higher levels of harassment, contempt, and prejudice than men. Men were more likely to dehumanize female creators. Maddie Miller, young Australian, when her father found out, He called me a whore. He called me a bitch. He said I was no longer his daughter. Her stepsister tried to extort her. When her financial success became evident, acquaintances began to see her as a walking wallet. More than 75% of creators are single, according to 2022 data. Many start in secret for fear of stigma. They live with constant anxiety about being discovered. One creator: despite having thousands of men begging for my attention online, I had never felt more alone. The final reality is clear. OnlyFans markets empowerment but delivers systematic exploitation. 34% experience negative mental health consequences. Depression, 35 to 44%. Anxiety, 20 to 51%. Suicidal ideation, 22 to 27%. Burnout, 90%. These are not isolated cases, but documented patterns. 3 confirmed suicides, multiple deaths under investigation. The OnlyFans owner received $472 million in dividends, while 90% of creators earn less than $180 monthly. The system extracts, it doesn't empower. Diana Deets, niece Waidhofer, Koby Falks are no longer here to see the debate. Phillips will make money from her 1,000 men event. But at what cost? The question is, how many more before something changes? Phillips collapsed on camera after 101 men. Days later, she announced 1,000. She's trapped in a cycle of trauma and escalation that she herself cannot stop. Diana Deets, niece Waidhofer, and Koby Falks no longer have that option. They're dead. Other creators describe feeling robotized, dehumanized, as if they had sold their soul. Some are still there, posting content, smiling at the camera while collapsing inside. OnlyFans is not an empowerment platform. It's an extractive machine designed to enrich a few while psychologically destroying millions. The numbers prove it. The testimonies confirm it. The suicides scream it. While the platform's owner counts his $472 million in dividends, there's a creator somewhere receiving degrading messages for $180 a month. There's another considering taking her own life. There's another who just got stalked by an obsessive fan. There's another whose content was leaked to her family.